Daniel.
You know those houses that sit quietly at the end of the street? The ones nobody remembers moving into, but somehow they're always there. The paint peels, the windows
Daniel.
are dark, and every local swears it's empty. But if you ever stand long enough outside, you'll notice something strange. Shadows pacing behind the curtains, even though no one lives inside. I thought the stories were just small town myths. Kids daring each other to knock on the door. Teenagers spray, painting warnings on the fence. But when I came back to my hometown last winter, that house was waiting. It felt like it hadn't aged a day, like it was holding its breath, until someone noticed it again. The strangest part, my name was carved into the wood of the front gate. Deep scratches, as if something with claws had etched it there years before I was even born. I laughed it off, told myself it was a coincidence. But the next night, I dreamed of the house. I dreamed of standing in its hallway, hearing whispers calling me deeper inside. They weren't just random noises. They were voices, familiar voices. My mother's voice, my best friend's voice, even my own. I woke up with dirt under my fingernails. My shoes were wet, as if I had been walking outside all night. And on my bedside table was a rusted key I'd never seen before. A key that matched the lock on the front door of the house. I should have thrown it away. I should have burned it, buried it, forgotten it. But some curses aren't meant to be ignored. And the house in it wanted me. When I stepped inside, I realized the town had lied. The house wasn't abandoned. No, it was alive, and it knew my name. The key was heavy in my hand, colder than metal should ever feel. I stood at the gate, staring at the house as the wind pushed dead leaves against my feet. For years I had passed by this place, never once daring to step closer. But now, as if something had taken hold of my body, I slid the key into the lock. The door creaked open before I even turned it. The air inside was stale, yet warm, like someone had just left the room moments before. I expected dust, cobwebs, the smell of rot. Instead, the living room looked preserved. Furniture sat neatly in place. A coat hung by the door. A lamp glowed faintly in the corner, though I couldn't see any wires plugged into the wall. And then the smell hit me. Sweet like decaying flowers, mixed with something coppery, like dried blood. My stomach turned, but my legs moved forward on their own. Every picture frame I passed had faces scratched out. Family portraits with heads missing, wedding photos torn straight through the eyes. Even children's drawings scribbled black with what looked like ashes. The deeper I went, the more the house whispered. At first I thought it was the wind seeping through cracks in the walls. But the words became clear. "You're home." I froze. My pulse hammered in my ears. The whisper came again, closer this time, right behind my left shoulder. "You've come back." I spun around, but no one was there. The hallway stretched empty, shadows pooling unnaturally in the corners. The only sound was the slow, deliberate ticking of a grandfather clock at the end of the corridor. I moved toward it, my breath shallow. But halfway there, something else caught my eye, a door beneath the staircase. It was small, barely tall enough for a child to crawl through. A rusted padlock hung loosely from its handle, broken, as if ripped off by force. The door creaked open an inch, and I swear I saw a pale hand retreat into the darkness. I stumbled back, my mind screaming to leave. But the grandfather clock struck once, echoing like a funeral bell, and from behind the little door came the sound of breathing. I should have run then. Any sane person would have. But something about that breathing, it didn't sound threatening. It sounded desperate, like someone struggling for air. Against my better judgment, I crouched, peering into the gap. Nothing but darkness. Still, the air pouring out of the crawl space was colder than winter wind, carrying with it a stench of damp earth. I shut the door quickly, heart hammering, and backed away. That's when I saw it, an old, full-length mirror leaning against the wall at the base of the stairs. It hadn't been there before. I approached slowly. My reflection wavered like water rippling, though I stood perfectly still. Then it smiled. My stomach dropped. I wasn't smiling. My face in the mirror tilted its head, eyes widening unnaturally, like glass stretching too thin. I stumbled back, but the reflection stayed close to the surface, pressing its palms against the inside of the glass, as if it were trying to push through. "Let me out," it mouthed silently. The words fogged across the mirror, as if breathed onto the inside of it. I turned to run up the stairs, but the moment I moved, every light in the house flickered violently. The mirror cracked, just one jagged line across the surface, but enough to split my reflection in half. The half smile remained. Panicked, I raced up the stairs, every step groaning beneath me. The walls seemed to close in tighter, wallpaper peeling like skin. When I reached the top, a door slammed shut at the end of the hallway. I wasn't alone here, and whatever lived in this house was done waiting. The door at the end of the hallway rattled violently, as though something on the other side was desperate to get out. Against every instinct, I grabbed the knob. It burned like fire against my skin, but I twisted anyway. Inside, the room was blackened with soot. Every surface was covered in thick, gray ash. The bed had collapsed inward, its mattress charred. Burnt children's toys lay scattered across the floor. Headless dolls, melted trucks, stuffed animals with eyes missing. And in the center, a rocking chair moved back and forth on its own. I swallowed hard. The air here was suffocating, thick with smoke that wasn't really there. My vision blurred, and suddenly I was no longer in the ruined room. I was standing in the past. The wallpaper was new, the bed freshly made, toys neatly stacked. A fire blazed in the hearth, and in the reflection of the flames, I saw them. A family, parents and 2 children, but their faces were hollow, as if someone had scooped them out with knives. The father turned toward me, raising a finger to his lips. Shh! The illusion shattered. The walls blackened again, toys burned away, and the rocking chair crashed to the ground with a violent crack. Something small scurried behind me. I spun, just in time to see a trail of ash footprints leading to the closet. They were child-sized, and they stopped right at my feet. I staggered from the room, choking on air that wasn't air, and slammed the door shut behind me. The hallway swam before my eyes, and that's when I noticed the walls. They weren't just wallpapered, they were carved. Names. Hundreds of them, gouged deep into the plaster, layer over layer, climbing from floor to ceiling. Some were faded, others fresh enough that splinters of wood still clung to the grooves. And then I saw mine. My name, not once, but 3 times, scratched into the wall at different heights. As if I had been there as a child, a teenager, and now as an adult. No, I whispered, stumbling back. My fingernails dug into the plaster, and the wall itself seemed to pulse, as if it were alive. Behind the wood, I heard faint scratching, as if dozens of fingers were clawing from the inside, desperate to break through. A low groan filled the hallway. The house shuddered. Lights burst one by one, until I was left in complete darkness, and in that darkness the voices rose again. Not whispers this time, but screams. They screamed my name. I ran. I don't know how I made it back downstairs, but the house seemed to tilt and bend, forcing me toward the crawlspace door beneath the stairs. It was wide open now. Inside, something moved. I knelt, shining my phone's light into the blackness. For a moment, all I saw was dirt and rotting wood. Then, 2 eyes blinked back at me. Not human eyes. They glowed faintly, reflecting like an animal's in the dark. A low growl rumbled from the crawlspace, and then a shape pulled itself forward. Long arms, skin stretched thin and pale, fingers like claws dragging through the soil. It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't a person. It was something older, something that belonged to the house. The creature opened its mouth, and I realized the whispers hadn't come from the walls at all. They had come from this thing. "You've always lived here," it rasped. "You were made for me." And as it lunged forward, I saw its face clearly. It was my face. I scrambled back, but the creature crawled out with impossible speed, its limbs cracking as they bent the wrong way. I slammed the crawlspace door, but its claws punched through the wood, missing my face by inches. The house roared. Every window shattered inward. The floor buckled. I ran for the front door, but it was gone. The hallway stretched endlessly, looping back into itself. No matter where I turned, the house reshaped, trapping me inside. The mirror appeared again, propped against the wall. My reflection smiled once more. This time, it spoke aloud. "You never left. You never could. The house isn't haunted by us. It's haunted by you." The creature lunged from behind, shoving me forward. I smashed into the mirror, glass cutting deep into my arms. And then silence. I was standing outside. The house was whole again, quiet as if nothing had happened. The gate creaked shut behind me. But when I looked at my reflection in the shard of glass, still lodged in my hand, it smiled back. They say some places hold memories, but this house, it doesn't just hold them. It feeds on them. It waits for someone to notice it, to step inside, to claim the life it's owed. I thought I was escaping when I walked away that night. But the truth is, I never left. My body walks freely, but the house owns me. It waits for the next visitor, carving their name into the walls, adding another soul to its foundation. So, if you ever see a house at the end of a street, one nobody remembers anyone moving into, don't stop, don't look, and whatever you do, don't take the key, because the house is waiting, and it already knows your name.